All right, so I want to start off talking about charity. Why did you decide to create your foundation in the first place?
Well, I think it was the right time. I remember Ta Perry, who he came in 2004, I believe, to me and Deidre and kind of present the whole project, and at that time, I don't think we were ready to start it. I mean, we did some things with the community, the Down syndrome community of St. Louis, like around the area, sponsor some of the golf tournaments and all that, and kind of be in the face. But it took us about a whole year, to think about it and to process. And I can look back right now, maybe, 13, 14 years later, and thank God really that we didn't start it, that we really searched it and pray, and we were prayerful about it. And, May of 505, that's when we pretty much, decided to make that call. And I believe that was the right time. That's when God really put that in our heart,
Your long-term goals for it, or what?
Well, really do what we have done so far. I mean, I was so amazed how much, just within a few years, the foundation was growing. I mean, within a year, we were making mission trip down to the Dominican Republic, treating, between 1,500 and 3,000 people, giving food. And, it's still up today that we still support Dabate. And every time I go, I kind of rewind and go back, 13 years when we first put our footstep in that ground in the Dominican Republic, in Membate Aleman. It was like a dirt field, and now they have a really beautiful field and nothing around. And then just different programs that we have set, not just in Dabate, but different other area. And, my dream and my goal is continue to try to that platform that we already have set in this community in Batey Aleman, kind of take it to the other ones, because there's different areas in the Dominican Republic that need help, and I think that's what gonna take this to the next level in the Dominican Republic.
When you've been to the Dominican, what have you seen in terms of when you've gone in to the varying areas to help?
Well, what I have seen, first of all, I need to give a lot of prods and thanks to all the doctors and the group of people that we take down there. Homer Sadiq and Jen. I mean, there's so many people. Jen Mueller, who's pretty much, those are like our captain that put the teams together for us to go down to the DR since day one. I mean, you're talking about dentists and doctors that close their office for a week. You know how much money they're giving away? Like just having their time and just close it up and then go down there and go down to the DR, man, and pretty much just work from, 6 a.m. to 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. I mean, upgoing. We maybe have one day where we can be relaxed, maybe the last day, but they're like, why would you? We don't come here to relax. We come here to work. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you appreciate that. You appreciate that when those people it's not about with money is great. Giving money is great because this is, what's moving the foundation. But I think when you have those people donating their time too, it's just expression. Because, all the volunteers and all the events, we done 100, probably 110, 120 events a year. It takes a lot of bodies, right, moving. And,
what do you see when you're there?
What I see when I'm there, man, is just the growth, the happiness, the
What about the challenges?
The challenges are always challenge. There's always tough. I mean, you're talking about people sleeping in the floor. Then one year we decide we donated close to 300, 400 mattress and bed. That was one of the projects that we did because we saw that. I mean, you were talking about like places that not even a puppy or dog you wanted to sleep. I mean, another project, that we done is that baseball, Bate baseball, where we have different talents come out of there, and just give them that hope that they probably weren't looking. We brought, I believe, a couple of kids already to United States, where one of them had to have heart surgery, another one we saved their leg with cancer. I mean, just different challenge, man, but with the support of so many people, not just in St. Louis, but around the country, I don't think we were able to reach this goal.
What did you see firsthand from having a daughter with Down syndrome that made you want to make that one of the focuses of your foundation as well?
I think it's an easy call. I saw the need, that we needed it, and being in 2001 in St. Louis, they didn't have that much support, and it was an easy call for me to just jump aboard for 4 or 5 years before I started our foundation. Then we took over pretty much and started doing our own program for these kids and adults with Down syndrome, and it's just beautiful. That's my passion. I love the game of baseball. I thank God for that talent and this platform that He has given me, man. But I think to be able to go to one of these events like the prom or the basketball game, man, I turn like a little kid back again, because I have so much joy.
What's the highlight of the basketball game for you?
For me, it's obviously having all the kids making shots, and then afterward the win, winning. We I believe we 8-0. We win every year. But I think just to give them an opportunity, and Ty is so good about creating different programs.
I love how you're competitive with that.
But I think it's so good because Todd, and Jen, they're so good about every year try to just give them opportunity to this family that they probably would have never have. And that's what this Pujols Family Foundation is all about.
What's the highlight of prom for you?
Dancing with these kids. I mean, you need to make one of those days, or I don't know, you probably have seen videos. I mean,
you're drenched with sweat by the end of the...
Well, they're fight. So 1 year, I just come from knee injuries. I just had surgery like 3 weeks before the prom, or 2 weeks before the prom, bro. And I'm telling you, I was just standing up and dancing. My knee has swelled up like the next day because I was dancing. I mean, we taking turn, and I enjoy that, man. I enjoy that because that's the difference that we want to make in the community, and I believe that that's the call, that's the call that God has given us, and like I say, we're still in St. Louis. There's the headquarters. I know I'm wearing a different uniform, but that doesn't change anything. That doesn't change the love that I have for that city. That doesn't change, and I'm gonna continue to say this until the day I die. But I was a little boy when I came to St. Louis. I left a man because I learned so much from that city and from my fans and the support that they give me, not just in my career, but off the field. And I think, to me, that's more important than anything that I have accomplished in the field.
I want to take you back to when you were growing up. Rough upbringing. It's remarkable how much success you've been able to have given where you came from. I want to go back to when you were 3. Your parents get divorced, and your mom decides to leave and doesn't come back. What do you know about that?
Well, she came around, but I think, I have talked to my mom, and we cleaned there, but I think, talking to her, it takes me back, what did that happen? It wasn't like she left and just like whatever. I was raised by my grandma, my dad's mom, and you talk to my grandma, and she always say that I'm the younger or 11 childs that she has, so I'm the youngest one. But I think it was like my family at that time. I think it was better for me to be with my dad than with my mom.
Why?
Because the economy, better. It was gonna be. My dad probably would have. He was gonna give me a better education. I mean, bringing food for me every day and stuff like that. Like, we were in a better position at that time than where my mother was, and I think that's how I look back. But that doesn't change the love that I have for my dad, and that doesn't change the love that I have for my mom. I think no child wants to be separate from their mom and dad. Like they want their dad and their mom to be together. But sometimes, you go through those things. But I think that didn't stop the plan that the Lord has in my life.
How do you think it affected you not having your mom around early on?
It wasn't like she never came around. She came around. She came around, once, and you know, when I was like 5, 6, 8 years old, like I would have spent the weekend with her and all that, like stuff like that. Yeah, so it wasn't like she was gone forever, you know. No, she came around, you know, and she was there. She was there for me too, just like my dad. Obviously, like I told you, my dad, family, part of the family, we were in a better situation at that time, you know, money-wise and living-wise than where she was. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, you always regret things that can happen, but if I had to go back and I had to do it again, I mean, you wanted better things, but, you know, I don't regret anything because it has made me who I am today.
Was there a point in which you guys made the decision to reconnect?
Oh, we were with my mom?
Yeah.
She was just in the Dominican right now, and she was standing in my house over there. So I have a great relationship with my mom, and I have a great relationship with my dad, and I love dearly. I love both of them. So, you know, like I say, I don't wish anybody, you know, this, but I believe that didn't stop the plan that the Lord has in my life, you know, and that's how I look at it.
So your dad had a day job as a painter, played softball as well. To what extent are those some of your earliest memories on the ball field with your dad?
Yes, it was fun because they used to have double hitter, you know, every weekend pretty much. And I would have grabbed the glove sometime, you know, I was 5, 6 years old grabbing the glove. And my dad was a pitcher, one of the best softball pitcher in the DR. And I remember he pitched the first game, and I would have asked him, like, Dad, can you hit me some ground? Like, he would be so tired, sweating, and he would have hit me ground balls, you know, and like I'll be in shortstop, taking ground balls from him, like in between games, you know, you only had like a 20-minute break. But stuff like that, you know, it was fun time with my dad, you know.
How much credit do you give him for your early success?
Everything I gave after the Lord, like everything I gave my dad, you know, because not just my dad, my whole family has been supported from my grandma to my grandpa, you know, who passed. You know, he never got a chance to see me playing in the big leagues. I wish he would have had that chance. You know, he passed in 1993, 3 years before I came to the state. But like, I think if there's anybody that would enjoy my success and my career, even more than my dad or my mom or even myself, would have been my grandpa, because my grandpa was a great player. And he loved the game of baseball, and I think that's what motivates everybody to play the sport of baseball.
And so your dad had a day job as a painter, but work, I understand, was kind of scarce. And to what extent would he have to leave for periods of time looking for steady work?
Yeah, it was tough. But sometime when he would work in the city, you know, I would go with him, you know, during the weekend or after school and try to help him out. Like, I mean, I'll be coming home, you know, I was like probably 11 or 12 years old, 10 years old, like just helping them out as much as I could and spending time. I'm the only child that my dad had, so unlike the price, like everything at that time that he did, it was just for me and nobody else. And even to this day, right now, you know, so I really have a great relationship with him, and I thank him so much because he was the one that pushed me to get better in this game, and he was always around.
You've been pretty open about this. I think when you're like 9, 10 years old, after games, he was known to have a few drinks and you'd have to bring him home drunk. How do you think that impacted you?
I mean, it was hard, but I think, you know, like I say, that didn't change anything. You know, it was part of, hey, when you go to a baseball game, you know, and you on the weekend and hang out and play softball. I mean, you know, people have extra drink, whatever, and, you know, but I think, you know, it was something that helped me in my life, and probably that's why I haven't touched, you know, knock on wood. You know, I don't drink and I don't smoke, like I don't do any of that.
Do you think that's why?
That's probably why I haven't, you know, choose that. Like I never tried to have alcohol. I don't have any problem with that, but like that doesn't drive me, you know. And that might be the impact, you know, seeing my dad like that. But
because I read a quote you gave where you remembered thinking then that if you had a son, you wanted to make sure that he wasn't having to
to do that. But at the end of the day, I think that didn't change anything. You know, I think my dad, besides that, he was the perfect dad. You know, he's still the perfect dad for me, because he was always there and gave me the love that I needed, the shoes that I needed for baseball, the food that I needed, like everything that I needed. My dad was always there giving it to me. I mean, I always believe that education comes from our family. And I had a great, even though I was moving, bouncing from place to places as I was growing up, I had such a great people around me, great family and great friends that helped me along the way. You know, because I could have choose. I had different paths that I could have choose, you know. And my focus was always, I want to become somebody. I want to be a baseball player or an engineer, something, bro, to help my family. Because just like I was there, you know, 21 years ago and see, you know, how poor our country is, I wanted to be somebody in the future that can help our family. And that's the opportunity that God has given me. You know, I'll be able to help my family the way that I wanted to, and my dad and my grandma and everybody. And I thank God for that.
Your dad's mom, your grandma, America, how would you best explain the role that she played in your life?
Awesome. I was her baby. She protected me with everything. Even when I got in trouble and my dad or my grandpa wanted to spank me, like she was always, even to this day right now, like, you know, nobody can say anything wrong her about me. Like she just a pressure woman. And obviously she had a rough life herself. She had to raise 10 kids, you know, with my grandpa, and had a rough, you know, had a rough too. But, you know, it's just like everybody, man. If you want to reach your goal or be somebody, you have to work hard for, you know. And she never took any easy path. You know, she had to work hard at it with my grandpa. And she raised, you know, 10 beautiful kids, my aunts and my uncles, and they raised me the right way. I go back to the education, give me the education that I needed. Because it started as a young boy, you know. It doesn't start like when you are growing up. Education, you know, it start as a young boy, and that's what I have. I had those people around me that surround me, whether it was my aunt, cousin, uncle, you know, my dad, my mom, my grandma, everybody. They were always there for me, just helping me.
What do you think you learned from her?
She loved to help people. Like, I remember my dad or even my grandma, like, giving food to the neighbors, you know, when they didn't have to. And they did, just help the neighbors out, you know. And
when it wasn't like they had a lot to give.
No,
right?
And they were trying to help. And then my grandma was the same way, and my grandpa. So I think that was really easy for me to learn that. And I saw that as a little boy. And it's like, it was automatic, you know, for me to if I see a need somewhere, I'm going after. Because I believe that at the end of the day, God has given me so much. I can't take anything with me. And I heard a quote somebody say the other day, that we should praise people when they're alive. Sometimes we focus on praise people when they pass. And I have thought of that so many times, that there's no way until we lose somebody to appreciate that person. Let's do it when they're alive. And I think sometimes we lose that focus. And, you know, and I can think about my grandpa and my grandma, you know, just raising their kids and working hard, you know, to give them the best education. And, you know, when you see that, it's like, it's automatically meant to you. You learn that, and you become, you know, who you become. And you always, there's one quote, you never forget where you come from.
Why decide to move to the U.S.?
My Aunt Esmeralda and Alfredo, they came, I believe, 86, 87. So my dad's sister, she's the oldest of the girl. She moved to the United States. She had her paper. She applied for papers, and she was the first one that came to the United States. And as you come to the United States, you always, you know that you leave family behind, and you want to help your family. So as soon as she came to the state, she applied for the papers and I applied to bring my grandma and my grandpa, who was the first one that came. Then when my grandma and my grandpa came, then they started applying to bring their kids, and our whole family. So pretty much it was like a puzzle, then. And there was another aunt and her husband, then another aunt. So my dad and myself, we were the last one, 1996. They came to the United States, but it wasn't like I choose. It was like that's where my family was coming, and and it was to give us a better life. But it all started from my aunt, Esmeralda and Alfredo, who I give. I mean, I die for those people. I die for everybody in my family, but just for them, for them to do that, and that's, and I go back, man. It's like I see sometimes in a hotel and thinking about my life. It's like, man, this all God's plan,
Tell about the shooting you saw. That was part of the reason you decided to move from New York to Independence, Missouri.
Yeah, part of that. But my grandma was already in Missouri waiting for me. So, but I think one great move that my grandma, at that time, my grandpa was already, he passed away. So it was my grandma with my aunt, Esmeralda and Alfredo. And I think she came one summer to Independence, Missouri, and visited Wilfredo, who's my dad's brother, and she fell in love with the country. And she fell in love with the state, and she's like, this is where I want to raise my kid, bring my kids, bring my grandkids, and I think it was the best move because you look at it, to bring everybody, all my family, to the United States and trying to find a job in New York, that would be rough, So imagine, it's hard to find one person to find a job. Imagine 10 or 11 in your family plus their spouse, it would be tough. So I believe she moved, that summer, after that summer of '96, she moved in the winter to Independence, Missouri. And, that's kind of, it wasn't just because of the shooting. I think it was part of my grandma, once again, looking for her family and the best for her family, moved there. And I think it was the best move for everybody.
But without getting into specifics, that really impacted you, understandably so?
The shooting one? No, it was tough. I mean, you're talking about I'm 16 years old and seeing that, man, it's hard, but, it was a long time ago. Sometimes I think about it, but I don't even remember all the details.
After you and your father moved to Independence, Missouri, I understand you felt lonely.
Mm-hmm.
How so?
It was hard, bro, because, going to high school, I was like a year and a half from graduating down in the Dominican, and now you come into the United States, and now you had to kind of repeat, going to school and repeat the class, and because at that time I didn't know any English, so it was hard. But I'm one of those guys, man, that if something drives me, dude, I go after, and I go after hard. So I knew that I needed to learn the language to be able to communicate, to be able to take classes by myself, man. And I started taking classes with Mrs. Stanky, who was my English teacher, and she didn't know any Spanish. I didn't know any English.
Well, I love that. Your English teacher who's supposed to be tutoring you in the language.
It was like, but you know what, bro? It took 3 months, man, and I went after, and 3 months it was, I really learned how to communicate. When you're a kid, you can pick it up things really quick. So I don't know. I'm really smart when it comes to that. Like I memorize things really good. I mean, and all that stuff, and she put a lot of work into to help me out, and because she knew how hard I wanted to learn the language, and it was challenge, man. It was challenge being in school, and I know a lot of people were laughing at me because I didn't know the language. Yeah, and you know what? But it just we are kids, man, and going to high school. It happens in every high school,
How much did they make fun of you?
A lot, but you know what? I had a good friend of mine up to right now, Chris Franca. He was in the baseball team, And he helped me out along the way too.
What would they say when they're making fun
No,
of
it
you?
just, because I wouldn't understand, and sometimes, I would say something that wasn't correct and they laughed, but I think.
Okay, what about your last name? I would have to imagine you come over, like, you don't have an American last name. It's kind of fun. Like, you get crap for that?
No, not really. I think I had to help people how to pronunciate, how to say my last name, but I look at it like, man, those were a great time. That was a great time in my life. And once again, God always had a plan for me, putting great people along the way because, Chris, who was the shortstop in high school, Fort Osage High School, he moved to third base and he was one of our best pitchers too. And he's one of my best friend too from high school that I still in touch with, and I get to enjoy every time I go to Kansas City to spend time with him and his family. But he really helped me out and took me under his wing, I would say. So that kind of like environment with my friends in high school also helped me out, to learn the language.
How often did you have proper baseball equipment growing up?
Never. Never. I had to borrow from my neighbor. I had to pay $5, to one of my friends to let me borrow the glove.
I understand.
Or
You
I
got
had to take it from my dad. And
milk cartons?
I had to recreate it, and play with milk.
How would you do it?
You get the cardboard, obviously you smash it down, and you would have, obviously put a hole on top after you smash it down. So you open it and the side, open a big crack, and then on top, you just open a hole, and that's where your finger goes. So you just kind of grab it like this. And, I would have played catch with that. Yeah, I would have tell you, it's really easy, but easy to make. But it was, I would have been creative with that. I would have been creative with a license plate. We have, again, called La Plaquita, which is the license plate again. And you would have, it's 4 people, it takes 4 people, 2 bottles each side, or 1 bottle in the other side and 1 bottle on this side. So you play 3 outs. So if you knock that plate down, which you obviously make it small and then it stands up, the license plate, that's an out, But then if you hit a home run, then you just bounce, you score runs, kind of like cricket like that, going like back and forth. Kind of, that's how we play ball in cricket. You like really don't run as much. But we call that again La Plaquita, and I played in the street, with some of my friends. And once again, it's almost like baseball, but you wouldn't use a regular bat, you would have used a broomstick. Same thing, another game that I played was La Vitilla, which is the water cap, the big bottled water, it comes with a green cup sometime and the blue one. You would have take that out, and then you peel it up. You had a broomstick, and you just throw it and kind of play. So we were creative with games. And games that are really famous down in the Dominican Republic. I go and I see people playing the games in the DR.
How much did your wedding cost, and where did you get the money from?
Oh, well, I don't know, $150 probably. Yeah. And by counting, I remember Didi got so mad because somebody showed up.
Oh, because somebody didn't show up?
Somebody showed up,
Oh.
And it was extra money that we had to pay that we didn't have. But you know what, man, it was, I think it was 150 or something like that.
Class A ball, there's a bench clearing brawl. How painful was the $100 fine that you got?
Really painful, because when you were making $252 with 52 cents, I think, and you take $100 fine, and then you have your wife and an apartment, with, getting ready to give birth to AJ, my second one, having Bella. It was tough, but you know what? At that time, dude, if I had to pay it again, I pay it because you were sticking up for your team, and that's something that I think as a player you never forget. This is your family, and you spend more time with your teammate than what you spend with your really family, And it was just something that we saw it coming because we have problem with them when it happens in their field. And then when they came to us, they broke one of our prospect leg at home plate, and you knew that we had to do something. And we went at it, man. And I remember Chris Duncan, he was in the team with me that year. I was the third baseman, he was the first baseman. And we were kind of the two big guys. Everybody else were pretty small. But, you know, you had to do what you had to do at that time. I mean, you don't gonna try to stay in the dugout and like not worry about paying the fine.
Why did your wife, Dee Dee, want to declare bankruptcy, and why did you talk her out of it?
Well, I just talk her out of it because I believe, you know, you had to be cocky. And, you know, when I got drafted, I knew that I had talent to play in this level. I even told one of my uncle, Wilkins, we went to a Royal game in 1996 or 97. This is probably the summer of 97, where I saw Benji Molina, and I believe I saw Gene Emmon making that famous diving catch when they were wearing the Angels, the Disneyland uniform, and that famous diving catch, running back, you know, like this, like Willie Mays, I said that he dove for. I was at that game. And the whole reason I was at that game because my summer coach had like a season ticket, and that year he one of the game he gave it to me. He's like, hey, I'm not gonna go to the game. You wanna go? I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So that was my first big league game that I that I went. And I remember I told my uncle Wilkins, listen, he asked me, do you think you can play with these guys? I'm like, give me the bag, I show you. You know, like I was, like I work hard for, you know, I work hard for, I train hard, and that was my attitude. So when that time came, I knew that if I put all that work and I put things together, so I told her to give me time, let me go play, give me time, and then don't do it.
How would you explain the difference when all of a sudden you're then making the major league minimum salary, and how life-changing that was?
You know, everything happened so quick, you know, to get drafted, to go to, you know, instructional league, then full year in 2000, in the minor league in Peoria, and then from there get called to high A, Potomac, and then triple A. You know, and be one of the heroes in Triple A to hit the walk-off home run to send the team to the World Series. Bro, you would have given me like in a script or a plain paper and read that down. I'm like, write that down. I don't think I can't even put that whole story together. So, and then the next year in 2001, you know, get invited to a spring training, and I wasn't even supposed to play or even get any at-bats. And making the ball club that year, dude, it was unbelievable. So things happened so quick in my life that it wasn't even time for me to think about it. But just play the game the way you know how to play the game.
Yep.
And that's it. Up to this day, that's the attitude that I have. Like, I think sometimes, don't get me wrong, I think sometimes about how quick all that stuff, you know, but to that year, I wasn't even thinking. I was just enjoying that I was in the big leagues, and having guys like Mike Matheny, Placido Polanco, J.D. Drew, Woody Williams, Darryl Kyle, Mark McGwire, I mean, Gene Emmons. I mean, guys like that really helped me along the way and showed me Bobby Ball, who was there last night, who I thank him every day for pulling the hamstring, because that's the whole reason I made the ball club, because he got hurt. But having those guys kind of took me under the wing and showed me, listen, kid, you belong here. Just play your game. You belong here. Man, it was just a fun summer. And on top of that, you know, winning Rookie of the Year, I mean, it was amazing.
How difficult is it to maintain the same level of motivation now as opposed to when you were coming up and had yet to achieve any of the success?
Still the same, man. The same motivation that I had since I was in the minor league, the same motivation I had since before I even signed, same motivation. And then my family, you know, they motivate me every day. I just have AJ here, you know, and he's like, you know, giving me his blessing, you know, about, hey man, go out there, tear it up, you know. Like, that's what drive you, man. To have the success that you had, and winning. That's what you play for. Racing that championship, man, and be hungry. And I can tell you that even through the injuries and through the stuff that I gone through since I left St. Louis, it's been hard with all that. But there's no one moment that comes through my head and say, I'm just done. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I mean, I get sick and tired of being hurt and having surgery, but I still enjoy the game. I love it. I love to come to the ballpark early because remember, I still wearing a uniform that I represent and I respect, and I have a lot of young players. They're looking up to me, and they're observing how I kind of do things around, and be blessed to have one of the best players in the game on my truck and my team too, who was kind of like my shadow, following me around and asking questions that wants to get better. And he kind of reminded me myself that I was the same way, with asking questions. I wanted to get better so quick and this and that. Mike is the same way.
Tell about the WashU test you participated in, comparing you to Babe Ruth.
Oh, that was back in St. Louis? Man, I don't remember much about it. All I know that they put me a bunch of wires all over the place, and somehow I think I was either equal or better than him, I guess. I don't remember. I don't want to say things that I don't remember.
But
so
off the chart results.
Yeah, it was really off. It was just, everybody were saying we've done so many tests and this is impossible. Boy, it was off the chart.
How much time do you spend each day on game day watching videos?
Back then we used to have the VCR, so you had to wait until you get to the stadium to do that. But now the technology has advanced so much that you can even watch the picture on your phone and your iPad. And when I wake up in the morning, I take the kids to school if they're in school, and then I come home, have breakfast, and I'm watching the picture that I'm facing and the whole bullpen. And, it's just so easy right now with technology that you don't have to go to the ballpark. You can just watch it at home. And by the time you get to the ballpark, you just do whatever you have to do, whether it's treatment, whether it's getting a cold tub or hot tub to get ready to go get loose and do the little routine that I did this morning. That's kind of the same routine that I do the season before game.
I understand you always have a plan going into an at-bat.
Well, you have a plan. That's why you do the scouting, and you have a plan how you want to approach the pitcher. He throwing the sinker, or his best pitch is the curveball, or stuff like that. Or this is how he pitched to me last time I faced him. He has success. Now I need to make an adjustment, because this game is about, just like every sport, it's about making an adjustment, especially more in baseball, because you got so many scouts scouting the game that maybe you playing Oakland the next day and we playing Seattle, and there's scouts in the stand that they're ready. When you go to Oakland, they're gonna have that scouting report against you. So, and then if you didn't have a good success in that series, or vice versa, if you had a success, they're gonna try to pitch you different. So it's always kind of it's hard to describe because I don't want to give my secrets, but it's more like, you have to be ready to make an adjustment even during your at-bats, because they probably are not pitching you the way that you thought that they were going to pitch to you.
And you're aware of an umpire's strike zone going into a particular game as well. Like if an umpire has a wide strike zone or tight strike zone.
Yeah, you look at that, but you cannot control that.
Okay.
Those guys want to be the best.
Okay.
So I don't judge those guys, the umpires. I think if it's up to me, I would love for them to just foul, fair. Take the instant replay out and just, hey, let's go back to old style. How this guy let the umpire have, the benefit of the doubt.
Right. But as long as there are a million cameras now, it's never gonna.
Then it's not gonna go back.
So your first 11 seasons with the Cardinals, I mean, best 11 seasons in the history of baseball. You come to the Angels, obviously drop off in productivity. What do you think accounts for that, and how challenging was that for you personally?
Well, I think, as you know, the injuries. I mean, I save, I guess, all the injuries that I didn't have in St. Louis for this team, But I know
that comes with age, though, too, right?
Yeah, but it's just, you adjust yourself to your program. I think that the hardest part was that same year I had a right away lower half problem, which my stents are really unique, and it require a lot of my legs. And I had obviously right leg surgery, knee surgery, and then from there it was just one after another. Then you had the plantar fasciitis, you had a foot surgery, and it was like everything the lower half. And I don't care how great of a hitter you are. You can be the best player in the game in my trial right now. If he started having problem with that lower half, it just changed your swing. So I had to now kind of reinvent a swing where, I can take that stress out on my leg and, to try to perform. But then still, driving 100 runs and hitting 30 bombs. Yes, my on base or my batting average is not what I want, but I'm still driving 100 runs. What's going on with that,
Right.
If in the next 3 years I drive 100 and something plus run and hit 30 home runs, I think I'd be pretty close to Barry Bonds and then probably break Hank Aaron record for RBIs, So it's like, but right now there's so much looking on the baseball saying and this and that.
Yeah.
You know what, dude? What helps us win is scoring runs and driving runs. And I think I'm an elite producer when it comes to that.
I was talking to Tony La Russa the other day, your longtime manager with the Cardinals, and he said people don't give Albert enough credit for the injuries he's played through. And Mike Trout actually said the same thing, and that people didn't realize. I mean, at some points you've basically been hitting on one leg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm gonna say this because there's so many people that say it there, but they're like, bro, what you have accomplished even in one leg over the year, like there's nobody else that I don't think it can do it. Even my hitting coach is saying that, But I'm fully healthy right now. I'm hopefully I can stay healthy for the next 3 years of this contract and see where the Lord's taking me. And my goal is the same goal that I had when I signed this contract. Try to win a championship, for the city of Anaheim.
Simply due to age, though, what's that realization process like for you that physically you might be less able of doing the things that your brain's telling your body to do?
See, but when you train to a level that I train, you don't think like that. I probably all in baseball because I'm 39, but I'm young in life. I feel strong. I take care of my body really well. I train really hard. I don't overdo things. I listen to my body a lot. And you know what? If you can do that, then you put all that together and all you can do is take it out there in the field. I wish you can see when you're gonna get hurt, an injury, and you can avoid it, but you cannot. You can be I use this illustration. You can be walking at your house, or even walking in the street and twist an ankle. And you don't even have to play a sport. So imagine now you're playing 162 games plus 30 in spring training, plus 14 during the playoff. I mean, it's a lot of games, and you have to maintain yourself. And I think that's why I put the volume of work in the off season, because that's what's gonna carry me into a deep season, and that's how it's been. And no matter my age or whatever, I don't think like that. I know what I need to do, of course. I understand that the programs had to change, but the same attitude and just tweak little things here and there with my trainer. We've done that, and I feel really good about myself.
The hardest part of transitioning leagues for you was what?
For me, it was the travel, bro. Being in the Central in St. Louis, it's like you bounce Cincinnati, Milwaukee. I think the farthest trip, it was Houston, which it was like hour and 45 minutes. Man, and when you come here out west, my first year, man, and I didn't realize this until somebody told me about it. But bro, you added about 20 more thousand miles than what I was traveling in St. Louis.
Wow.
Flying, 20 more thousand miles flying. And that month of April, I ain't lying to you, I felt like it was September. And I was in one of the best shape ever. But I felt like like it was September. Their league, they pitch you a little bit different, but you get adjusted to that. But to me, the challenging part was, the changing time, the 3 hours different, going from the east to west and had to play the next day, knowing that now you had to travel at 10 o'clock in the morning on your day off and you don't have a full day off. Like you get into the city and you just barely have time to eat and then go to bed, and stuff like that.
So there's never been any reason to believe you've achieved your numbers in anything but an honest, clean way. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on the steroid era, because it was, like the tail end of it when you were coming into the league. What impact, positive and negative, do you think it had on the game of baseball?
Hey, listen, I think, that the best thing is that Major League Baseball created a program that nobody can sneak it anymore. I mean, you see all the suspension, and they're going hard at it. They knew that there was an issue happening in our gang, and they cleaned all that up. But like I say, I mean, I don't judge people. I think, you make your own decision, and if you choose to do something that you can know violating our league, hey, you're gonna get penalized.
Right.
It's like if you going in the highway and you see 65 miles per hour and you go 75, 80 and you get pulled over, what do you think is gonna happen? You're gonna get a ticket, right? So it's like, if you go on a highway and it's 65 miles per hour and you go 75, 80, you're breaking the law, right? You're gonna get a ticket. And then if you acting up, try to be disrespectful to the police, they might throw you in jail. Well, it's the same thing, I mean, people that have choose that, I mean, they're gonna get penalized. So, I think at the end of the day, I don't judge.
Right.
I don't really judge. I look at myself first before I have to judge somebody else. But obviously, we know there is a problem. But Major League Baseball has done a great job.
It was like 34 years between 60 home run seasons, Ruth to Maris, 37 years Maris to McGuire, and then there were 6 60 home run seasons during a 3-year period beginning in 1998. There were like 3 players who had achieved 60 home runs in a season in the whole history of baseball prior to 2002, and then that number triples to 9 from then. Like, how do you view numbers that were put up during that era?
You know what, bro? You still have to hit that baseball. So, I mean, I think...
I know, but as somebody that's done it like ethically and honest, like yourself, doesn't it, to what extent doesn't it all bother you when, you've done it the right way and then there are others that haven't, that have gotten some of the same accolades?
See, but it's hard because I haven't seen those people doing it. I mean, you can look and say, oh, this guy, but you know what? At the end of the day, man, I go back where my job is, the same love that God showed me every day and my family. I had to love those people too, and they're human. So they made their choice, they made their mistake. One of my best friends who I respect, Robinson Cano, I was the first one to call and I said, listen, man, I love you. Our relationship is not gonna change. I'm here for you. You made a mistake, bro, and you're gonna have to clean it up. Listen, the guy made a mistake. That doesn't mean that the guy is a bad person. And I respect Robinson, I respect his game, Hey, listen, he made a mistake, But I don't want to turn my back on him, And that could be in anybody else, Because that's the same thing that you need to look at. The love that God has for me is the same love that he has for him. And he got his suspension. He lost a lot of money. So guys taking that chance and they know that they're gonna get cut. At the end of the day, I go back to where Major League Baseball has done a great job, and the Player Association made sure that they put in a great program, and to clean our gang, and it's happening.
For what it's worth, there were 3 years where in the MVP race, you finished only behind people that were alleged to have taken, PEDs. So,
see, but that's it. They think that they are taken,
right.
but they haven't proved. Until you don't have the proof, you can speculate and say that this guy maybe, man. But when you have the proof in your hand, that's when you can blame somebody and say, you know what, this guy, I had that. But
if you knew they had, would it bother you?
I don't, bro, there's no one moment that I look back and say, I wish this, or I wish. I have enjoyed my career since day one. And I'm so thankful and grateful of what I have accomplished in my career and in my life, that there's no regret. There's not a award that I wish I would have won. I have accomplished pretty much everything. Everything that a baseball player can accomplish, thanks to my King, Jesus, they have given me this platform and the ability. And after him, my family and my teammates and coaches, they have helped me along the way. So that's how I can put it to you.
Explain the role that faith plays in your life.
Everything. God is everything to me. He has shown me His mercy, His grace, and the best gift that He has given me is salvation. When I got to, accepting in my life, and knowing that I have eternal life through Him, a personal relationship with Him. It's not about being a Christian. It's not about It's not about religious. It's about having a personal relationship with Christ. So that doesn't make me perfect. I have learned the hard way. I have made mistakes, but knowing that when I come to Him, He doesn't judge us. He doesn't look at us, and be mad at us. He receives us with love. And I have learned so much, in my life about how to treat other people the same way that Christ loved. And I believe at the end of the day, or at the end of my career, that's gonna be the most important thing for me. Yes, the legacy of being a baseball player and great, all that, that's great, man. But being a strong Christian who serve the community, and when I'm facing Him or being with Him, like, that He can look at me and say, what have you done with the gift that I give you? The gift is not the $300 million that I make in the game, the 3 MVP, the World Series. That's not the gift. The platform, that's not the gift. It's that Bible, man. That Bible. That's the gift that He has given me, His Word, so I can spread it and talk about the good news of Jesus Christ. And that's my job. It took me a while to learn it, but I'm at the point that I'm equipped now. And we have, our chapel this morning, and I'm telling those young guys, we were talking about creation, and how God has created everything. And I told them, about the last creation that He made. It was us. The Lord made us in His image. And then what He did after that, He rested. So He said the best thing for last, and it was to give us life in His image.
What do you remember from the first time you went to church with your wife, Dee Dee?
Oh, I remember, at that time my English was so I still had to wear, an earpiece during service so I can get translated in Spanish. So I pretty much just, start asking questions and there was like 2 weeks go by, and I asked, hey, babe, what is it? When the pastor at the end of the service, he made the altar call and say the prayer of salvation, to give the life to Christ. And she pretty much explained to me about it. She was like, listen, I'm going to keep it real simple to you because you probably won't understand, but there's a hell and there's a heaven. And I told her, I'm like, well, I don't want to go to the hell. I want to go to heaven. Mm-hmm. So the week after that, we went back to church, and Pastor Jeff Adam Grieve, a great server at Kansas City Baptist Temple in Kansas City, and he touched me, and I think, after the service, he did the same thing, and I just walked up with her, and surrender myself to the King and just have him take control of my life.
And that means what?
Just accepting that you accepting as your Lord, that you accepting that you know that he died on that cross for our sin, that he took everybody's sin, upon hanging that cross. And then you know that he gave you that eternal life. And through that, I had learned along my way. And I was a young believer back then, but like having guys like J.D. Drew, Woody Williams, Mike Martini, like the way that those guys were handling their life, it was more than just going to church. You can see Christ in them. Like you can see the joy. And I was a young believer. I was like, you're still going to church, but man, I think it was after 2001, 2002, being in St. Louis, a Christian Family Day, that they asked me to share my testimony, and I didn't know what to share. And I think that's where my turning point was, man. That it was like more than just going to church and do your duty. It was about having a personal relationship with him, with Christ. There was more than just the religious. And, it's been great. And, it hasn't been perfect, but I know that I won't change a thing.
I understand in 2006, when you won the World Series with the Cardinals, it wasn't the World Series, it was the highlight of your year, but rather flying back on a plane with a teammate and leading him to Christ?
Yeah, my good little brother, Yadiel Molina. We were in San Diego, and Rick Horton I see Rick Horton by the window, I see Yadi and Miro, and then I sit over here, and we left him to the Lord to accept him, to accept Christ. I mean that you need to turn, from your sins and let the Lord take control and just share with him, the things, that God has done in my life, and he has seen it, and just the way that I handle myself. Like I say, it doesn't make me perfect. I have made mistakes many, many times, but knowing that, I have somebody that got my back all the time and that loves me like nobody else on this earth. And then when you put him before your family, before your wife, before your career, that's the God that I love. That no matter what I have here, nothing is more important. Nothing, not even my kids, are more important than the relationship that I have with him. So when I got to that point, and I understood that really well, and that was my highlight to him, because I remember when Yadi got to the big leagues and having a spring training, his father, that was alive at that time, told me and his mother, he's like, he is my baby, and I want you to take care of him. And from that moment on, Yadi's been like my little brother. Even though we are apart, he's in the center and I'm west, but I always checking on him and making sure that he's okay. And I just saw him last month. We were in Florida together working out. And I enjoy it. And those are the relationships that you built in this game, bro, that you don't, that's like the pressure time. So pressure that you take with you when you retire. Along the way of winning a World Series, of course, they're great memories.
The most satisfying moment from your career would be what?
Oh man, winning that trophy, besides getting to the big leagues, accomplished that championship, be able to raise that trophy in 2006.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about some notable moments from your career. Only Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Alex Rodriguez has ever achieved 2,000 RBIs. What does that mean to you?
It's just when you name those three guys, to put myself in that list is it's pretty special. But that's not my target. That's not what I'm playing this game for. I'm playing this game to try to win a championship and to try to make everybody around me better. Because if I can do that, they're gonna make me better. I'm aware of the list that I'm around and that I have accomplished, but I really have separate those things, until I probably done playing again.
You've passed 3,000 hits now. You're also past 600 home runs. I was talking to your teammate, Mike Trout, who's really Since you, the only other person ever to start a career on as much of a tear, and he said it's the 600 home run milestone that sticks out the most to him, just being there for that. Take me through that at bat.
No, it was great, man. I remember we were going on a road trip. We were playing Minnesota, and it was a Saturday night game. We were facing Irving Santana. And there was a moment, if there's one thing in my career, or two moments, that I really wanted to do something in my stadium so special for my fans, because I believe that they deserve it to see history. It was a 600 and 3,000 hits. Obviously, 3,000 hits, I ended up hitting it the next night at Seattle. But the 600, man, I really want to do it in my stadium. I want the fans to celebrate, not just in Anaheim, but across the United States, which everybody celebrates. Everybody knows me, from friends and family. They have supported my career. They have enjoyed every moment, and they have cried too, every strikeout and hurt that I've been through all this year. But it was a slider. He got me 1-2, and he threw me a slider kind of hanging, and I just probably put the best swing of the night and did it in style, with a grand slam. So, but that was a moment that I really enjoy pretty much, and because I accomplished something pretty special that only a handful of guys had done it. And I did it in our stadium where I wanted to do it for our fans.
Game 5, 2005 National League Championship Series, 9th inning, playing the Astros. They only need one more out to go to the World Series. Cardinals are down 2, and you're up. Take me through what you recall.
As you know, it was in their stadium, and it was so loud, and it was great rival, because the year before we beat them for us to go to the World Series, and we back in the NLCS again with them at their stadium. They're ready to pop champagne. You look at the dugout, and there were a couple of players like celebrating, and I'm in first base, kind of like, Lord, give me another opportunity. Let me have another opportunity. One more at bat. And I think I was coming fifth in that, and I think it was the 8th hitter, then the pitcher, then Eckstein, and Jimmy and myself. So right away they make 2 out, and Eckstein really had a great at bat, kind of like infield hit. Jimmy got a great walk, great at bat, and here I come. And I remember putting my glove down, man. I felt it in my gut, like when you feel something that you're gonna do something special, or you're asking the Lord to put you in the situation, and then now you feeling it, and you are in that situation. But I felt it that I was asking to make the last out for the team, and I got my choice. I went and I put my glove. I normally never in my career had done this. Putting my glove down, and then go get my bat right away, my helmet, and sit, like, especially, not never, but if I'm hitting 5th or even 4th in that inning, like, I'd never put my glove right away. And there was something in my guy was telling you better be ready, you're gonna hit. And I sprint, man, across that diamond and put that glove down my hat, boom, 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 put my batting glove, grab my helmet, and sit down. And every time we go to Houston, I sit down in the same spot because it reminds me that moment. And I just sit in there, and I knew that I was gonna get that at bat. I didn't know that I was gonna do anything special like that. That was extra bonus, but I knew that what I was asking, I was gonna get it. So after Jimmy walked, I knew that Brad Leach was gonna go to his best pitch, which it was a slider. And he threw me that first pitch, and I think I swung it, was one in the dirt. And after that, like, I knew I had it. Next pitch was another slider hanging, man, and once again, just like the 600, the rest of history. I hit it out of the ballpark. I know a lot of people talk about that 100. For me, it was just another 100 because we didn't accomplish what we wanted to, and that was to win the series, to go to the World Series, and they did, so they deserve all that credit.
I talked to your longtime manager, Tony La Russa, the other day, and he said, first, I have to say, if Albert was going to go anywhere besides the Cardinals, there's no better place to go than working for Angels owner Artie Moreno.
Yes.
But he said he was, quote, most bummed because if I would have stayed on another year, I believe Albert and the DeWitts, meaning Cardinals ownership, would have come to some accommodation, meaning agreement. Your reaction to that?
That's when I really realized that it's about business, this game. And, it was a tough decision, but I really pray about it. And what I have received from this side, from our ownership, Artie and Carol Moreno, without even throwing a baseball in that stadium, because my only time that I was in Anaheim was at the All-Star game in 2010. But I think what they showed to me, it was like probably what I was looking from the DeWitt family. And, if I had to do it again, and I pray and that happened, that same situation, I believe that I made the right decision. I believe that Artie Moreno and Carol wanted me really bad because they weren't even in that picture. I remember Artie and Carol, they were at the movie theater, and he came out to talk to me 30 minutes after I was done with my prayer and say, we want you, this is what we got. And I made a decision that night, I talked to my wife, and, I didn't want to wait another day. I wanted to really have a peaceful Christmas.
Right.
I didn't want to have to wait after the year. And I'm really grateful.
It was a cool story about Artie Moreno trying to recruit you. I mean, he stepped out of the movie theater, was talking to your agent, Danny Lozano, and he's like, no, I want to get Albert on the phone now, as opposed to waiting for Dan to call him back with you. But look, I've talked to enough people close to you now that I know leaving the Cardinals was a painful process for you. You walk
I don't
off
want to lie to you, it was, man. Half of you live pretty much. You're in that city, in the fans, and great, and yes, your dream is to try only finish with one uniform, and beat the Derek Jeter and this and that. But you know what, man? This game has changed, and it was in the process, that we ended up winning a World Series, and they had their opportunity in 2008, 2009. I ended up winning back-to-back MVP. So they had their first crack. They had their first shot. We could have done something a long time ago before I hit a free agent, but they decided to wait it until I was a free agent, and that was their choice.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you walk off the field Game 7 after winning the World Series, and the Cardinals basically never even call you.
Yeah, it took a while.
Why do you think that was, reflecting back on it?
I don't know. I'm glad I get this opportunity to clarify, because the fans in St. Louis think that it's all about the money, that I came to the Angels. I'm like, if you do the math, I came to California, and I'm going to make less money than if I would have stayed with the Cardinals. Because of tax purpose and everything. And I had another team that were offering me a lot. Like a big contract.
The Marlins, right?
Yeah, and I didn't want to go, I didn't feel well, that wasn't in my heart.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you would have taken substantially less money to stay with the Cardinals. The issue with you was the long-term commitment.
Well, I think that was the thing, as the DeWitt and Mo and Darren were saying, they want me to be a long-time Cardinals, and I felt that, the approach that they took wasn't showing me that they want me to be a long-time Cardinal. But you know what, man, this thing is over. I don't want to sit here and go back and try to say something that make them mad. I'm going back to St. Louis this year, and I'm excited about going back and play in front of probably the best city to play this game of baseball, best fans, So I really don't.
And I want to ask you that in a sec, but just last question.
I don't really want to hold that.
When you were in it, though, at that time, when you had yet to make a decision, how was it affecting you, the process?
Oh, I got to the point where I got frustrated, and I called Danny and I told him, I'm done, dude. Like this is the best that the last thing that which I would never do for anybody, is getting on my knee and begging them, and that was the last thing that I have, and I wasn't gonna do that. I don't gonna humiliate myself like that. So, but I felt that, like I say, they made the right decision. They felt that they wanna move along, and we move along, and I'm happy right here. I got 3 more years left here, and hopefully I can bring a championship to the city because, there's no better satisfaction than win a World Series.
I'd imagine your wife was the first person you told of what you
she
were
was in
wanting
the
to
room.
do.
She was actually in bed, and I had to wake her up and tell her because I remember I got on my knee, and I asked the Lord and said, Lord, I have done everything that's in my hands. Now it's take control because I can't handle this anymore. This back and forth talking and promising and this and that. Nothing was moving, and man, 30 minutes later, I got that call from Artie, and that was the confirmation, from God, I believe. And listen, I can look back my career right now, and with the injuries that I have, man, it's probably the best move that I made in my career. She was really upset because, she really wanted to, just like me and myself, we wanted to be in St. Louis, but she was happy that after meeting Artie and Carol Moreno, the decision and the commitment that they make to our family, you had to respect that. And
Dee Dee, tough lady, I understand. And I actually
she
heard
won the next
she was
day.
more frustrated.
Oh yeah,
than
she
you.
was. She
Like
was. She
about
went
what?
out there the next day or the next week and talk about it. And I know people got mad in St. Louis, and just like every wife, they're gonna defend their husband. Obviously, whatever me and the Cardinal went through, those things are private. But we know, and he knows, God knows, the things that went down. And I know a lot of people wanted to throw rocks and were burning jersey and when, because that's their reaction. I feel sad for those people that react that way. But you know what? I look at it and I'm like, they probably weren't my true fans. Because if they love me because I was wearing a Cardinals uniform, then that was the wrong motive. Because they should love Albert Pujols, not just because he was a decent player, but also the things that I done in the community and be a great man. Like, that is more important than just whatever I have accomplished in the field. So, and I can understand the frustration. I probably done the same thing, but you know what? I think they overreact, and the 2% probably or the 100% fans that we had that react that way, and then 98%, they were excited and they were mad, the Cardinals that didn't sign me too.
Yeah, and in fairness to them, it's probably hard to know what is and isn't, true when you're just a fan and reading, half-truths.
But I can tell you that if I had to be in the
right?
same shoes, buddy, I wouldn't change it. I would make the same. I would go to my Lord and make the same decision that I did because, like I told you earlier, Artie and Carol Moreno made a commitment, without me trying to baseball put it on your uniform.
Your very early days with the Angels, while I understand they were treating you incredibly well, I also heard that it might have actually been a lower point for you right after you got to the team because you're still heartbroken. Your wife and kids are, still in St. Louis. You're lonely. How much truth is there to that?
No, it was tough. It was hard, man. I was living in a small apartment, and Deidre came and, find a house. And she's like, first of all, we need to find you a house. You need to get out of here. You need to get out of this apartment. So we ended up buying purchasing a house that we still live on it. And then it was tough. But I think it wasn't just. It wasn't just thinking about, because I had a great spring, man. I had a great spring training too that year. And it was just part of that. I think maybe the pressure, a little bit of pressure with the contract and prove people,
You felt
I
it?
worth it. Yeah, who doesn't? You don't think Harper and Machado are gonna feel that pressure? Trouty, when he signed the biggest probably contract ever in the history, everybody felt it. If there's somebody that says to you, bro, that they don't feel that pressure, they lying and straight in your face. We are human, and we have feeling, and we go through that, I mean, did we get over? Of course. So That year, the funny thing is that I had a bad start, but then I still driving 30 and drive 108 and hit 285. I didn't hit a home run in April, and I didn't hit a home run in September. So in 4 months, that was my season. But then I was disappointed because we didn't make the playoff, and that's what I played for.
Yeah. Didi, first date at the Cheesecake Factory. What do you remember from it?
Wow, man, that was a long time ago. Nothing, just go out and have dinner, after probably a week that she was calling, and, after I gave her my number and we couldn't communicate, but we just went out to Cheesecake Factory and, went out and have dinner. And, I gave her a kiss and we hang out that night. Then I believe we went to her house and picked Bella and just, just enjoy. And then from there, we just went, I think we went the whole year seeing each other, like we just connect right away, from that moment.
What do you think made you guys connect?
I don't know, the love that we have for each other, and then, too, after she explained to me, because that was the first time that I heard about the Down syndrome situation, and, I fell in love with my little girl.
What do you think made you lean in to a situation like that as opposed to, running the other way? Because, here she is, you're on one of your early few dates, I think, and she says, by the way, I have a daughter with Down syndrome who's only weeks old.
Well, if I had to say right now, knowing what I know through Christ, it's like that was the Lord's plan that He has for me. And I would have to say that it was meant to be, man. We were meant to be connected. And, it's been great.
Yeah, she's talked about faith. Before she had Izzy, she said she was partying too hard. Then she, has Izzy, starts partying again a little bit, and then meets you. What was able to change?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's a question for her. It'd be hard for me to answer that,
But you helped.
But I guess the way that I played sport, I was still in high school. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't like to go out party. And, I guess she saw that, education that I have for the sport and everything. And maybe that changed her. But I think that'd be a good question to ask her. I can't really speak for her.
So you have 5 kids. Now, at what point is each in their lives?
Well, they're doing great. I mean, I think you got a chance to see AJ last night.
Talk to AJ,
He's
right?
18-year-old. He committed himself to go to Vanguard University for golf. Then we have Sophia doing gymnastics. She's 13. Then Ezra, who's turned 9 last month. He loves baseball. He loves everything. I think he's going to be a basketball player. He loves basketball too. And then who runs the house in control, Esther Grace, my 6 years old. She's a beauty. She's.
What does she do to run the house?
Well, she's just bossy, just like mommy. She's really bossy, and but she's beautiful. I can't even wait until we're done so I can call them to FaceTime them. But she just, she knows that she's the younger one, and she's like trying to catch up with Ezra and Sophia. So and it's just fun. Just 5 beautiful kids. I'm blessed.
Biggest challenge having 5 kids?
Like kind of understand their personality. It's really challenging, and knowing what they like. They being kind of, I wouldn't say living in my shadow, but like this, being traveling for 20 years and, the job that Dad does. And, he's obviously a famous baseball player. Just all that, like to explain to them all that stuff, and you say, hey, listen, you just be you, and try to, especially with AJ. I remember my biggest challenge with him, he wanted to be a baseball player so bad, but I think it kind of got to him. He was a great player, and he was a good little player. And it was kind of like he felt that pressure, that he wants to be as good as Dad, and he wants to, and it kind of got to him. And I remember the time that he told me, Dad, I don't want to play baseball. I wanted to play golf. And it was like, thank you, Lord, because I saw that release on him that baseball was getting to him. And now he's a great golfer. He wants to go pro. I told him that he has to work hard. And then, but I think the biggest thing is just find their personality and support them on everything. I could easily say, no, AJ, you need to be a baseball player. You need to be like, no, I'm not that kind of dad, man. It's whatever sport they choose. One thing that we know, that we don't bounce them from sport to sport. They had to choose one thing, and that's something that we've done since they've been young.
How do you find the balance between making sure you provide your children with all the opportunities you never had without going overboard to dampen the motivation?
Yeah. Well, they understand. I think Dita and I, we explain them. We had talks with them. They see how mom and dad, kind of live their lifestyle, and they understand really well to this point. So, and then the best thing as a dad, you just make sure you open. You want your kids to know their mom and dad are their best friend. And, if there's any problem that they'll go through, hey, come to that and communicate. Communication is huge, especially with your kids at a young age.
Mike Trout, what impresses you about him?
Best players in the game. They're just amazing. Young kid who wants to get better, which is scary. Really humble, great teammate, comes from a great family, and has the same heart that I have, and wants to win, just like I want to win. So we always talk about it. I'm like, dude, can you imagine if me and you together in my prime time and you now in your prime time, like how scary, we joke around like that, But it's pretty special, and I'm thankful and blessed to wear the same uniform that Mike Trout was wearing.
He talked to me a lot yesterday about the role that you played in mentoring him when he first came into the league, because your first year with the Angels was, his first year with the Angels. In what ways were you trying to mentor him?
The same way, just probably when he was putting a little bit of pressure on himself, or try to do too much, and just stuff like that. Take it under your wing. Just the same way the guys took me under the wing, and just help him out with pitching or approach and talk about hitting. Just treat him the same way that I have treated everybody that make that ball club since till then. It's like, listen, you belong here. You just not a clue. You belong here, and you're gonna help us to win. And that's the same way, man. And Trouty is a really, really, besides being a great player, like a great athlete, just a fun person, man. He's just a great, great kid, and I enjoy it. Really smiling every day, and man, he plays against the right way. Even the foul ball he runs, it's just they play the right way, and I'm thankful. And I would tell my grandkids when he's in the in the Hall of Fame, getting into the Hall of Fame, like I play with that kid. I play with him, and I mentor him a little bit, and bless, and hopefully me and him can accomplish what we want, and it's a trophy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Good to see you, bro. And thanks for taking the time really to come down